You ever wake up, look out your kitchen window, and watch your whole sense of peace get trampled literally by someone who thinks rules are just for other people? That was my life. Every single morning, standing there with my mug of coffee, when Cheryl Brennan would come barreling across my lawn in her shiny white Mercedes like she was leading the Rose Parade. I'm not talking about a little slip of the tire this woman drove right through the sprinkler heads I spent 3 weekends installing. Across the fresh sod I'd laid with my own hands, and splattered mud all over the flower bed my wife planted before she passed away. Her last project. Our last project. And every time, Cheryl would just smile and wave. Like, "Hey Marcus. Good morning. Hope you don't mind me turning your front yard into a demolition derby." You know what I mean? There's only so much a guy can take before he snaps. The first time I confronted her, she rolled down the window and gave me that look like I was the one inconveniencing her. Relax. HOA access. You can't stop it. That same day, I get a violation notice taped to my door, $1,200 for obstructing community transit on my own property. That's when I realized this wasn't about grass. This was about control. So I stopped arguing, stopped trying to reason with her, and started planning. I'm an engineer. I know how to fix things when people keep breaking them. Cheryl just didn't know she'd picked a fight with the wrong guy. Let me back up a sec. Because if you want to understand what really went down, you got to know who Cheryl Brennan is. Picture a real estate agent by day, queen of the HOA by night. She's got this smile that says, "I'm here to help," even as she's emptying your wallet or, apparently, using your home as a shortcut. She's the kind of person who puts HOA Queen on her license plates and genuinely thinks it's clever. She lives 4 houses down in the biggest model home in Pinewood Estates, our little planned community where everyone thought rules and order would bring peace. Nobody planned on giving someone like Cheryl a badge and a clipboard. Me? I'm Marcus Hartwell, 58, retired civil engineer. 30 years spent designing municipal infrastructure stuff that doesn't fall apart when people put it under pressure. Water systems, traffic controls, flood barriers. My wife Sarah and I moved here for some peace and quiet after she got sick. We picked a corner lot for the extra space. Sarah wanted a big flower gardenia project to keep her busy, a thing of beauty that would outlast us both. We spent a spring together picking out bulbs, daffodils for spring, tulips, lilies, chrysanthemums for the fall. She never got to see them bloom. She passed before the garden really came alive. So when Cheryl started driving through it every morning mashing Sarah's last gift into mud and oil stains, it felt personal. I tried to let it go. I really did. The first few weeks, I figured maybe it was an honest mistake. Maybe she'd cut the corner once or twice. But by the 3rd week, it was like clockwork. 6:45 a.m. Right as I'm pouring my first cup, here comes the white Mercedes. Tires crunching over plastic. Fresh ruts every time. Cheryl would wave, always that wave. Like she was doing me a favor. Like she was queen and I was just another peasant lucky to be ruled. I tried talking to her. Saturday morning. Nice as I could be. She said, "That's just community access. HOA rules allow emergency routing. Right? Like every morning in suburbia is a 4-alarm fire." That's when I realized it was all a power play. Cheryl wanted to set the rules. She wanted me to know who was in charge. But she picked the wrong widower to mess with. I wasn't just some guy to be pushed around. I was a systems guy. And if she was going to break my system, I'd just build a stronger one. So I started documenting. Set up cameras, 3 of them, so there wouldn't be any, he said. She said. Logged every trespass. Every bit of damage. Time-stamped. Weather conditions. Photos. Sprinklers crushed. Flower beds wrecked. Dog walkers and delivery guys joining the parade. I watched teenagers use my yard for TikTok parking stunts. And every time I asked someone not to cut through, they'd say, "Cheryl said it's fine." I'm not gonna lie, those mornings got dark. Watching Sarah's garden get destroyed while I sipped my coffee and heard the plastic pop under tires. But engineers don't panic. We problem solve. I started collecting data like I was building a case, and I was. Over 2 weeks, 43 trespassing incidents, $1,400 in sprinkler repairs, $800 worth of new sod needed. All of it documented. I dove into the property laws. Turns out, my lot boundaries extended a good 12 feet past where everyone assumed they stopped original survey markers hidden under old leaves. That gave me every right to protect my space. And more than that, it meant Cheryl and her minions were dead wrong. So I filed complaints with the county. Put up no trespassing signs exact same style as every legal property marker in Virginia. Sent certified letters with itemized damage invoices to everyone who'd cut through. That's when Cheryl upped her game, hit me with fake emergency route paperwork. Official looking. Made up bylaws. Claimed my signs violated the community aesthetic. Threatened daily fines. Emergency board meetings. The works. What she didn't count on was me doing my homework. I spent a whole weekend at the county clerk's office, reading every line of every HOA document. No such thing as community access through private property. No emergency routes unless there's, an actual emergency. Turns out, board meetings require 72 hours notice. Cheryl's emergency meetings? Completely void. But she kept coming more fines. More paperwork. You owe $1,200 for obstruction. Funny thing, though, when I called the secretary and treasurer, neither one knew anything about it. Cheryl was forging board actions. Most state laws say anything over $100 requires a real vote. She was making it up as she went, counting on me to just roll over. That's when I noticed something else every time someone moved out after a fight with the HOA. Cheryl's real estate business sold their house. At a loss. 3 families gone in 3 years. All sold through Cheryl. All below market. All after months of harassment. Cheryl was turning misery into commission. So, I went on the offensive. Hired a surveyor, had my boundaries marked. Cost me $650. But Cheryl's face when those stakes went up? Worth every penny. Then, with a little help from my contractor friend Jake, I installed the prettiest wrought iron fence you ever saw, 3 feet high. Decorative. Every inch compliant with HOA rules. The first morning it went up, I was back at my window with coffee in hand. Cheryl came around the corner. Hit the brakes so hard her Mercedes fishtailed. She tried to find another way through, no luck. She was stuck using the actual road like everybody else. For a moment, I savored that quiet justice. But of course, she called it a safety violation. Said it created blind spots, even though it was shorter than a mailbox. Cheryl went into overdrive fines, daily inspections, even a neighborhood petition against my hostile fence. She started telling people I'd lost my mind after Sarah died. Turned some neighbors against me. I got the cold shoulder from folks who'd once brought me casseroles. Even my mailbox started getting loose. Trash cans accidentally knocked over. One day, someone cut my garden hose. The final straw? Someone sprayed herbicide right across Sarah's flowers. I responded the way an engineer does, installed night vision cameras. Started digging through HOA finances. Turns out, a ton of maintenance payments were going to companies owned by Cheryl's relatives. $73,000 in 3 years. The pool had been resurfaced twice on paper, but once in real life. Emergency tree removals for trees still standing. Classic embezzlement, phony contractors. Fake bills. Money siphoned right out of the HOA bank account. I wasn't alone. Margaret Lennox, former HOA treasurer, showed up at my door with a folder full of proof. She'd quit after Cheryl started bullying her. But she'd kept records, work never done. Insurance certificates that were fakes. Licenses expired for years. Cheryl keeps files on everyone. Margaret whispered. Uses their secrets to keep them quiet. Now she was ready to blow the whistle. Here's where the twist comes in. Right? You think it's just a yard feud. But it turns out you're living inside a real-life white-collar crime novel. Cheryl was stealing from everyone, hiding behind her leadership, and crushing anyone who fought back. The only way to stop her was to hit her where it hurt, with facts and with engineering. So I called my lawyer, David. We built an airtight case, financial records, photos, survey maps, hired a forensic accountant to follow the money, with Margaret rallying neighbors and Jake prepping technical upgrades. We planned the endgame. And me? I got creative. I designed and installed a set of hydraulic bollard steel posts that rise from the ground to block any vehicle. Completely legal. Used for traffic control, Now protecting my driveway. For posts. Solar-powered. App-controlled. Strong enough to stop a dump truck. I let word spread that I was giving up selling the house. Moving closer to my kids. Too tired to fight anymore. Cheryl planned a community healing event in my front yard to celebrate her victory. Invited board members. City council candidates. Even a photographer. Saturday morning. The convoy rolled up, Cheryl leading in her Mercedes, followed by her cronies. They all parked in my driveway, right where Sarah's flowers once bloomed. And that's when I triggered the bollards. For steel posts rose up, locking every vehicle inside. Confusion. Panic. Then anger. Cheryl demanded I lower them. She had official business. That's when Margaret and David arrived with federal agents. Cameras rolling. Margaret read out the charges: embezzlement, fraud, tax evasion, while the news crews broadcast the whole scene live. Cheryl's own photographer captured her face as the FBI led her away. It was poetic watching the woman who spent years using paperwork and intimidation to trap others, now trapped by my own engineering. Neighbors cheered. Kids laughed. For the first time in months, I felt at peace. Cheryl ended up serving 2 years in federal prison. Her real estate license gone. Her assets seized. The new HOA board instituted real reforms: transparent finances, livestream meetings, outside audits. Margaret was elected president. Every family got refund checks for the stolen money. I used my settlement to restore Sarah's garden and started a scholarship in her name for local engineering students. Today, I still stand at that same window with my morning coffee. But now I watch kids play where tire ruts once cut through the grass. Sarah's flowers bloom just like she dreamed, reminding me that some fights are worth it, especially when you fight smart. So, what about you? Got your own wild HOA or neighbor story? Drop it in the comments. Let's see who's really survived the craziest suburban drama. And hey, if you ever need advice on installing hydraulic bollards, you know where to find me. But seriously, what's justice look like where you live? When is standing up for yourself worth it? Let's talk.